everybody and welcome to another Amphlett Reviews. Today we're back doing another Hong Kong cinema review, this time for Shaolin Wooden Men, the new 88 film release. Recently 88 films have been absolutely nailing it out of the park with some fantastic Jackie Chan titles, ones I've never heard of, ones I probably would never have seen unless these 88 kind of brand new kind of 4K trans was getting released. There's been a few hit and misses. Me and my friend have been watching these as they've been coming out, and it seems to be a recurring theme of every two there's always one good one, but watchable, but kind of one off or didn't quite live up to the concept the film offers, and there's always seems to be a really great one, a really sneaky good one in there. Fearless Hyena was one for me a couple of months ago, and Shaolin Wooden Men, surprisingly, out of the ones that recently released, Spiritual Kung Fu and New Fist of Fury, Shaolin Wooden Men is the best out of the three. I'm surprised, and I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to talking about Shaolin Wooden Men. Now, if you've been watching my channel since I came back on YouTube, you know I'm a big Jackie Chan fan. I've been really diving into his movies, and it's one of the reasons that kind of inspired me to talk about Hong Kong cinema on this channel and kind of give my thoughts and opinions and kind of create a discussion with you guys. Obviously, Jackie Chan's I've seen his absolutely kind of his peak, his best with Project A, Police Story, Operation Condor 2. Absolutely fantastic titles, but recently the films have been focusing on his early work, his very first kind of first roles, his kind of first starring ones, and these early projects. And he signed a contract with Lo Wei Films. They were kind of big back in the 70's for doing loads and loads and loads of kind of martial arts films, pumping them out. And a lot of these got shelved. A lot of these got recut or never saw the light of day or retitled. Jackie Chan was known for doing kind of cameos and kind of extra stunt work with Bruce Lee, and he pops up in a few films here and there. Obviously, when Bruce Lee died, the kind of industry was dead for a while in terms of finding a star. These movies weren't making enough money because their biggest star, international big star, unfortunately died, and there was no one to kind of really fill that gap, and so they were struggling to find actors or stars to kind of fill that. And Jackie slowly became the next big thing, and they kind of marked him as the next Bruce Lee. And during his early kind of films, they kind of directed him in a certain way, and they kind of wanted him to act or do certain things in a certain way. And obviously down the line, he became who he is in terms of directing, writing, wanting to show his kind of comedy, his kind of his skill sets, his humor. You kind of can see the evolution of that through his early films up until the kind of big ones you kind of see. And it's funny because the recent films I've watched with Jackie Chan has been his very first kind of roles. New Fist of Fury I recently watched with my friend. I've watched obviously Shaolin Wooden Men, and I've also picked up the John Woo two early movies, Hand of Death, which is one of his kind of very first kind of co-star roles, where he kind of got into the limelight. It's a sequel to one of the Bruce Lee movies. I'll talk about this set in another video, but very interesting to see kind of three very early performances from Jackie Chan. It's been interesting seeing 88 films release doing these ones, diving back into his past, and it's great for me, someone who's never watched them, someone watching these for the very first time, and they've been really great experiences to kind of see how they stack up with his kind of other movies. I've been sending other videos. There's kind of like high tier Jackie Chan, there's kind of mid tier, and there's the really low tier, which you kind of you don't really want to touch or go into. There's a couple of specific movies that fall into that, but the older ones have been interesting to watch. There's been a lot of surprising ones. Fearless Hyena, Drunken Master, obviously, just to name a few. Dragon Lord's been quite interesting to watch. Spiritual Kung Fu's been interesting to watch. But Shaolin Wooden Men from the new 88 film release is a very surprising film. If you would have told me Jackie Chan starring film, one of his early ones, where he's mute, he doesn't talk for pretty much most of the film, I would have said, what? Jackie Chan's known for his mannerisms, his kind of his talking, his kind of quips and that kind of stuff, and his talent. So I was very skeptical. I had no expectations. I didn't know anything about the film. Didn't see a trailer. I just knew the cover, and that's about it. It's so surprising and so refreshing, and just downright entertaining and really, I got really invested in this film. One of the things I find most interesting about this film is so many off-branch kind of storylines, kind of like subplots that really kind of fill the time and really make the film very interesting and very engaging from start to finish. You kind of got the main kind of plot just around Jackie Chan. He's mute by choice. He saw his father being killed by this kind of martial arts expert, and he's kind of devoted himself to never speak until he basically seeks revenge for his father's killer. So he goes to the Shaolin temples. He's going to do his penance. He's going to do all the everything's been required of him. 5 years of service. He's going to learn martial arts. He's going to learn his kung fu, and to seek his revenge after. And that's kind of his focus, his drive. And you find out more about him and all the other characters, how they interact with him throughout the film, because he doesn't speak, so he has to rely on his performance, his mannerisms, his kind of, it's almost sense of comedy. His comedy definitely flows through this really well. This character's growth is really fantastic throughout the film, and you kind of see that being kind of bullied at the start, and you kind of being mocked from not saying anything, not doing much, and kind of not doing the trials right, and he's being punished. And there's a nice light moments that really fill up the time, and you really get to understand who he is at the start of the film to where he is at the end of the film. I think is very interesting. You've got that main kind of core story, revenge, you know, kind of plot line. One of the off-branch storylines is actually the title of the film, Shaolin Wooden Men, as you can see on the actual poster here. It kind of takes up the first act of the film. It's kind of a main focus. It's talked about between the kind of Shaolin Man brother temple. It's a kind of this very dangerous, very nasty trial where basically you've got Shaolin Wooden Men left and right. You got a narrow hallway, and you got to survive it. And they're kind of throwing punches, wooden punches in the sense, and you kind of try and block it. You got to survive it, because obviously being punched in the face by wood countless times is going to be very dangerous and very nasty. And it's kind of the main focus for that first act of the film. Jackie Chan has a dream about it in the first bit, and later it's always talked about. You can see with people going in and can barely get past the first bit, and it's a rite of passage, a rite of honor, and if you can survive it, you're kind of deemed worthy of being a Shaolin brother, in the sense of being kind of like a hero in the kind of the town's folks. You kind of get this burn on your arm, and if you have this burn, you're kind of like, oh, you passed that trial. It's kind of like a rite of passage. It's a very interesting kind of plot line, and surprisingly, I thought it'd be the entire film, but no, it takes up that first act. It doesn't take the entire film up. Everything in this film, in terms of plot, in terms of story, all benefits the greater core of this revenge drama. And I think what makes this film so refreshing and so investing is the fact that everything works. Surprisingly, everything really works. The story is simple but effective. It's a revenge movie. Most kind of like these kind of early 70s ones, the temple movies, the Shaolin temple movies, they're always about revenge. They're always about the life in the temple, about kind of honor and respect, and kind of like everyone wants to get theirs, in the sense there's always a bad guy that wants theirs or wants to cause chaos for the sake of it, and there's always a chosen hero that's kind of rise to the occasion. He starts learning martial arts from this prisoner. The guy's been there for about 10 years. We don't know why until later on to the film, until it plays out. But he starts to kind of embrace it, and he kind of, he's practicing per day. People are kind of noticing that he's getting these skill sets that he shouldn't really be getting. You've got this other woman in the film that's also teaching him the value of don't, live in anger, don't let vengeance consume you in that sense. So you've got two different teachers. You've got one that is telling him, strike hard, use these abilities that I'm giving you to really take out your enemy. And you can see him, there's a scene where he's in a tree and he's kind of like learning to poke the eyes, kind of go for the same specific pressure points to take out his enemy. So he's learning a very aggressive, very nasty type of martial arts, which kind of is fueling his vengeance. He's getting what he wants in a much quicker, very snappier way. You've got this woman that is kind of seeing and helping him in the best way she can. She knows her stuff, and she's teaching him, no, whatever you're learning, whatever you're doing, there's a better way. There's a more calmer, more relaxing, more kind of natural way to learn martial arts, and it can help you. And Jackie's learning from both of these people and kind of forming his own kind of style and his own kind of skill sets in a sense. And once he acquires what he wants to get, he's done. He wants to go and seek his vengeance, and the film takes a very interesting kind of middle act and the third act throughout the film. And from that point onwards, the film is about consequences and about your actions and what kind of person, what kind of man you want to be. The villain is very unique and stands out compared to some of the other Jackie Chan films. He's definitely very focused, he's very cold-blooded by nature, he's very ruthless, and he's kind of martial arts, and unintentionally so. Some of his dialogue is really funny in a good way and in like a hell yeah way kind of thing. It's so over the top, some of these villains can be, and some of the dialogue he says is really, really funny. Me and my friend were in stitches and like hand me your life and hand over, you know, I'll take your life instead. It's that kind of like, you know, sharp insults, those kind of sharp moments that really kind of sell the character. And throughout that third act of the film, you get to know who he is and the kind of his nature and the why he does the things he does and how he interacts with Jackie's character, being kind of like the master, the mentor. He's kind of teach the martial arts skills to him in a sense. And that kind of conflict, that kind of like the idea of consequences and actions really play into that third act so well. Obviously the things that happen in terms of character deaths, in terms of the aftermath of this person being released and on the loose, really plays into what's going on with Jackie's character in terms of how he wants revenge and how he seeks it, and how he has to kind of make amends for the people that he's kind of abandoned and left to the mercy of this killer in a sense. And it's all about Jackie's character finding his own sort of redemption, his own peace, getting justice for his father, getting kind of a sense of peace for himself in a sense, and kind of, you know, laying down those kind of, you know, putting those skill sets to the test and really using them for a sense of good, instead of a sense of like evil for the sake of evil. Film, there's certain things that he finds out and he kind of comes to terms with, like, you know, maybe the master isn't who he says he is in a sense, and it really creates a fantastic sense of drama and escalation, and it really builds up to that kind of fantastic final act itself. You know, he kind of has to kind of learn another sense of martial arts, because his skill set is nowhere near the level that his master is, so he has to kind of learn another off branch of martial arts from this kind of ancient grandmaster. It's fantastic in terms of escalation, pacing, in terms of build-up, and it all leads to this fantastic showdown between Jackie and this kind of prisoner, this villain character that we've been seeing for the entire film, and he goes toe-to-toe with him and some of the henchmen throughout the film, and it's a really fantastic fight. It's really well done, it's really well paced, it's really kick-ass. You really get that sense of kind of like that nasty kind of brutal nature. It's definitely a 15 for a reason. Overall, Shaolin Wooden Men delivers on what it sets out to do. It's a very early 70s film from Jackie Chan. It's a revenge story that pays off. It's satisfying. You've got a fantastic character journey that goes through a 3-act structure that doesn't mess around, that doesn't waste your time. It paces so well. It's so much intrigue in terms of the story with the Shaolin Wooden Men trials. You've got the kind of him going seeking out his vengeance. You've got a fantastic over-the-top villain that's so unintentionally funny but so interesting, and you get to know him. You've got a great sense of fighting and escalation, and a brilliant final act where they kind of kick ass, fight each other, and it's just rewarding. It's a very rewarding film. I think I've talked about it enough. I think I've praised it enough. I think I've been passionate about it enough. Go and support this film. Go and pick it up, guys, from 88 Films. Get this nice limited slipcase. That's been my review for Shaolin Wooden Men. I hope you enjoyed watching this review. What did you think of the film? Have you picked it up? Comment down below. What's been your favourite Jackie Chan film recently out of the new lineup? What's been the most surprising Jackie Chan film you've seen maybe this year? For me, Shaolin Wooden Men feels like been the two most surprising out of the lineup recently. I look forward to do more Hong Kong cinema reviews for you guys soon. So please comment down below, give a thumbs up, subscribe. Any recommendations, anything you want to see more of from this channel, please comment down below. Until next time, guys, for Amphlett Reviews, signing out.